This document is fire. And I don't mean that because you may have seen it in a previous video, on fire. Warning, warning, warning. These two documents will still be very important. And that's what we're talking about now. What is this form? It is the Forma Migratoria Multiple, or FMM form. It comes in two colors. No worries, they're the same exact form. This form is a powerful tool, but if used wrong, could result in some serious consequences. Missed flights, lost time, high fines, or in some cases, invalidation of your residency status. So it's important to know these procedures. In this video, I'll tell you everything you need to know, whether you're a tourist, a resident, a pending resident, or a citizen of Mexico. Why this form is important, how to fill it out, what you need to look for, and what the correct procedure is for traveling into and out of Mexico with this form. Hey friend, my name is Leah, and the goal with this channel is to make all things Mexico sound not so foreign to foreigners who may be living in Mexico. What is the FMM form? The FMM form is an immigration form that all foreigners fill out upon entry into Mexico, with a few exceptions mentioned in a previous video. It includes all the good stuff: name, date of birth, gender, passport number, travel information. The most important part is, drumroll please, the number of days granted. What this number is, or should be, or could be, changes drastically depending on your status. First up to bat, tourist. If you're a tourist traveling to Mexico, first on your checklist should be, do I need a visa to enter Mexico? If you don't know the answer to that question, check out a previous video we did on the subject. There are several countries who do not need a visa, but also several countries that do. Check to see if your home country is among the list of those who do. And if you do, check out another video we did on the subject of how to make an appointment at the consulate. Those steps must be completed first. You may want to pause the video here, watch those videos, and then resume. If you realize you don't need a visa, your next best friend entering Mexico will be the FMM form. What part do you fill out as a tourist entering Mexico? The answer? The entire sheet. You fill out numbers 1 through 13 at the top and numbers 1 through 9 at the bottom. How do you know your granted days? It will be written on two parts of the sheet. The INM official at Customs will write that number in on the top portion, which they will take, and they will write that same number on the bottom portion, which they will give to you. So they will keep the top 2/3 of the form and give you the bottom. There will be a box that says temporalidad días. That number is your golden ticket. It can be a maximum of up to 180 days, but that isn't necessarily guaranteed. It could be less, so I would absolutely encourage you to check that number as a tourist. And again, the procedure is, upon entry into Mexico, you will hand the entire filled out form to the INM official at Customs. They will then proceed to hand you back the bottom portion, and on that form, you will see by temporalidad días the amount of days you are granted to stay in Mexico. Critical point 1. Important. Do not overstay your granted days. And for tourists, upon exiting the country, you will give the bottom portion, or that bottom 1/3 of your FMM form, to the official before exiting the country, whether that's by plane or by car. Next up to bat, pending residents. I'm calling pending residents those who have a visa sticker from a Mexican consulate and are coming to Mexico to complete step 2 of the process for residency. The procedure to enter Mexico will be very similar to tourists, except upon entry into Mexico, you will give the INM official at Customs the entire filled out form. They will see the visa sticker in your passport. They will proceed to check the box for canje on your FMM form, which means you have a maximum of 30 days to complete step 2 of the process for residency. Critical point 2, important. If you look at your FMM form and they gave you more than 30 days, if you see a number higher than 30 on the días, temporalidad, you must correct that then and there. Make sure, and I can't emphasize this enough, if you don't want to waste your time, make sure they check the box for canje, giving you a maximum of 30 days to complete step 2 of the process. The procedure for pending residents is very similar to tourists, minus one detail. Once you reach the customs counter upon entry into Mexico, you will give the item official the completed FMM form. They will keep the top 2/3 of the form and give you the bottom third with your 30 days granted. But instead of giving that bottom portion of your FMM form to the official as you leave Mexico, you will give the bottom portion of that FMM form to the actual I&M office with your application for residency. And no worries, whether you're a tourist or a pending resident, if you change your stay from tourist to resident while in Mexico, after turning in that 1/3 of your FMM form to the I&M office with your application for residency, they will have it in the system. So when you leave, there's an I&M counter before security and after security at the airport. All you do is go to that counter and request a new FMM form and inform that I&M official that you became a resident of the country. Show them your resident card and they will give you a new FMM form, no problem. Which brings us to our next set of people on the list, residents. After receiving your temporary or permanent residency status in Mexico, your first rodeo with the new FMM procedure will be as follows. Once you go to the I&M counter at the airport before or after security, you get a new FMM form, and now the procedure switches. You will fill out items 1 through 9 at the bottom 1/3 of the FMM form, and then you will fill out the top 1 through 8. The I&M official will then take off the bottom portion, and they will hand you the top portion. You will fill out items 9 through 13 upon re-entering into Mexico. That will include all the travel information for your return. Before they give you the top portion, they will write either RT for Residente Temporal or an RP for Residente Permanente, depending on your status in the country. Your number of granted days is as long as your residency status is valid. And when you are coming back into the country, say by plane for instance, and they pass out the FMM forms, you still have that top portion from when you exited Mexico, but I would say take another FMM form. You will need it to exit, and I always have a few extra ones just in case. So upon exiting your aircraft, you go to the customs official, and the beauty with your residency is you now can go through the line for Mexican nationals. I'm always so excited to go through that line because it's so much shorter. My husband and I just breeze through. Once you get to the customs official, when you re-enter Mexico, you will hand them the top portion, now filled out 1 through 13, signed and date. They will take that and welcome you to Mexico. The FMM form that you got from the flight attendant, you'll need it to re-exit Mexico. Pretty simple. Next up to bat, Mexican citizen. While they don't have to fill out an FMM form at all because it's for foreigners, they do have a form that they typically fill out upon exiting Mexico. It's this form right here. It is the FEM form, or Forma Estadístico para Mexicanos. It's a data entry form that the Mexican government uses just to take information on Mexicans traveling abroad. As a Mexican citizen, you just fill out prompts 1 through 11, sign and date it, and hand it to the official upon exiting Mexico. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. But Aaliyah, what if I lost my FMM form? Or what if I forgot to give it to the customs official upon exiting Mexico? Or what if I overstayed my granted days? Well, just kidding. If you lose, forget to return, or overstay your granted days, it can result in penalties. Some very severe. It can be as little as paying a fee or a fine if you overstayed your granted days. Some have been reported getting locked up. Some people have missed their flights as they go to enter their vessel or their plane, and the official asks for the FMM form, they don't have it. Then they have to run to I&M, get their document, and come back, and by that time the plane could have left, resulting in fees to acquire a new FMM form, which is around maybe $30-35 US, as well as new fees to buy a new flight, as well as missed time and lots of calories burned, which could be a good thing. Depending on your status, if you forget to return the bottom half or the top half to the I&M official upon exiting the country, when you go to re-enter the country, it might result in some delays. So don't forget to return those forms. If you make it back home and realize you forgot to return it, my advice, contact your local Mexican consulate as soon as possible. Another thing, I've also heard of a few people trying to alter the number of days they're granted. Not a good idea. Remember, if you're a tourist, they keep the top 2/3 and give you the bottom third of the document. And your granted days is already written on that top 2/3 as well as in the computer. So if you go to exit and they see you've tampered with the days, no bueno. No bueno. Also, if you are a temporary or permanent resident of Mexico and you re-enter the country accidentally for whatever reason as a tourist, giving the item official the top portion and you taking the bottom and being having a granted number of days in the country, no bueno tampoco. This could absolutely adversely affect your residency status in the country, and the INM office has the right to withdraw your status as a resident of Mexico. Changes are definitely brewing like coffee though. The FMM form is absolutely still important for the vast majority of airport, although there are always exceptions to the rules. The new pilot program is an initiative by the Mexican government to eliminate the FMM form altogether. And if you don't know about that, check out a previous video we did. Hasta pronto! See you in the next video. Nos vemos!